Minicamp start today, mandatory. The first one going in, the Chicago Bears. Chicago Bears with Caleb Williams. I give Caleb Williams a lot of credit for facing that with Seth Wickersham book and that story with his father head on. I thought he did a nice job last week. They'll go to camp now without that distraction. It's been discussed. Or somebody might ask a question, but at the same time, Caleb Williams got in its face, and it shouldn't be a conversation for them. They're going to be talking about their new offensive line and new players and, optimism. Everybody's optimistic when you go to minicamps. Everybody feels good about where their season is. Cowboys and Texans will have their 3-day minicamps next week, the 10th through the 12th. So they'll be coming next. You got all month to do the mandatory minicamp, or 3 weeks now in the window. And but in advance of that, quick hitters. Are we happy with Saquon Barkley on the Madden cover? I don't play the video game, but pretty cool that they did the backwards jump man, Philadelphia Eagles jumping over the Jacksonville Jaguar cover.
Yes.
It's a cool cover.
It is a cool cover.
Now, they recreated it.
They did recreate it.
With Saquon Barkley.
Not a huge Eagles guy, but those throwback Kelly Green jerseys, gotta love them, right? He wore those.
Is there still a Madden cover jinx? Is that still a thing?
Yeah, that is. Last year was Christian McCaffrey, so people are talking, is it back? I gave the stats out about that. Since 2001 is when the game was really starting to be played. 58% of the Madden covers have had the Madden curse, one might say. But
That's almost 60, 6 out of 10.
Yeah, but the last 10 years, it's only been 3. So it was 2 years ago. It was, Josh Allen. He did just fine. A few other years ago, it's been fine. So we'll see. I mean, you obviously don't wish that on the guy.
Who was it last year?
It was Christian McCaffrey, 2025.
Oh, you just said that. Yeah, Christian.
The year before that, it was, Josh Allen. He's been fine. So it's not as much as it used to be. But yeah, I mean, this picture,
it's iconic.
That was an iconic moment for sure.
Oh, it was. In fact, he did that in a real live game is still ridiculous.
Insane. Yeah.
And as someone who doesn't play video games, but to have a video game move on the football field, come on, give me a break.
Yeah, kind of meant for that moment, right?
Yeah, and then they go on to win the Super Bowl. All right, so with that in mind, Super Bowl. Here are a couple of the next critical date on this whole Aaron Rodgers days of our quarterback lies nonsense is next week. Next Tuesday is when Pittsburgh opens their mandatory minicamp.
Yeah. You
got to feel like if he is indeed going to be a part of that team, he's going to be there for that. It's a new offense for him. It's new install. But if not Aaron Rodgers, do the Steelers get to a point this week, because the minicamp starts next week, that they lean into the Kirk Cousins conversation and try to push the issue there, because Kirk Cousins is holding out. He's not going to go to minicamp in Atlanta. He's not going to do anything for the Falcons this offseason, even though they paid him a lot of money. He wants to be a starter somewhere. He knows there are starting jobs available, so he's going to try to leverage himself somewhere, but the Falcons have to blink on that. We also talked yesterday about the possible trades of Jalen Ramsey and Tyreek Hill in Miami. Right. Does anybody want Tyreek Hill right now? He costs a lot of money, and he's 31, and he's got all kinds of off-field stuff going on.
Yeah, you listened to a team yesterday I thought would make sense. Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah, take a flyer, get him to the desert. Marvin Harrison Jr.
I think that pairing would be good.
You've improved your defense. You're trying to stand out in a pretty heavy NFC.
Right.
I like that too. And then, trade him back to Kansas City. He knows KC. He knows Patrick Mahomes. But can they afford him? I don't think so. But so Jalen Ramsey's one to watch, too, in the Cowboys' name. But, if the Cowboys are going to make a trade, I mentioned this yesterday, and I did some reading on it yesterday afternoon. Jets head coach Aaron Glenn has already indicated the team plans to have a heavy workload for second-year running back Braylon Allen, which the more and more you hear, the more and more it sounds like their running back, Breece Hall, is expendable. And Breece Hall is only 24 years old.
Right.
He's going into the final year of his rookie deal out of Iowa State. He's been on just a bad organization, but he's a good player.
He is.
He had an injury when he first got there, but and it doesn't sound like they're planning on paying him. If somebody came in and made an offer for a Breece Hall, you're going to have to pay him something. If he comes in and blows up because you struck, then you're going to have to pay him. But why wouldn't the Cowboys get in on that? Cowboys want to run the football. Their lead running back's Javonte Williams.
Right.
Coming on the heels of the George Pickens trade. Come on, man. You had a Breece Hall, and he could be the future at the running back position for you. Because we know that the Pickens thing's a 1-year deal.
Right.
CD and Dak you're locked in.
It's like a tryout.
Yeah. Well, and he's not going to re-sign. They're bringing him in to get 1 year out of him and see what that looks like to take pressure off CD Lamb. But to me, that Breece Hall thing can be longer term. He's a good citizen. He's a good player. He's a good teammate. He's all those things. He was a great player in the Big 12. I'm just going to put that out there. I like that move.
Yeah, great for Schottenheimer.
Depends on what you got to give up, but it doesn't sound like much.
Right. At that point, right, who's your who's your running back one? Javonte Williams? Okay, fine. If you want to go Sanders, sure, whatever.
Miles Sanders?
I'm all good on that. I mean, Jaden Blue, I love the pick in general, but that's not a running back one in this league at this moment, unless his game improves, which he has time to do that, right? I mean, this is a play for Schottenheimer and the Dallas Cowboys to go.
Want to be a running football team, and
exactly.
Breece Hall would fill that.
I think 100%.
And again, and not just for now, but for the long haul, potentially. And I don't think he's going to be that expensive.
And I think you could get him on a bargain deal.
Sure.
I really do, just in general. First off, the Jets are looking to be bad, I think.
Well, you're trying to catch a team who's in transition. New coach, new
They're
general
not looking
manager.
to pay this guy.
They've moved on from Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams.
I don't think it would take too much compensation. I mean, you're already dishing out picks for guys like Joe Milton.
They've already said they want to go young with Braylon Allen, the second-year man to be out of Arkansas. All right, so we'll watch that. I think that's interesting.
Yes.
And maybe he doesn't get traded. Maybe they're going two-headed monster, but then you're going to have to you risk losing Breece Hall for nothing. They could trade him all the way into the trade deadline if they decide they want to do that. So keep an eye on that name. I like Breece Hall a lot.
I do too.
And as we've discussed down in Houston, Texans go to camp next week, mini camp. And I'm going to say this because I think this is a good educational thing, but they're heading into the third year of the DeMeco Ryans, CJ Stroud championship window. And when I say that, because people are going to say, well, Houston's not winning a championship. Well, Houston feels like they're building a team that can contend for the AFC. They've been in the divisional playoffs 2 years in a row. They want to kick that door in and try to get to an AFC championship game. And it's all incumbent upon the offense and CJ Stroud. We know that. But when I say the cycle of life and 5-year windows, we talk about it a lot, but these are defined things. And I'll say this. So your window is when you have your head coach in place and your quarterback in place. When those two are together, you open a window. And for Houston, it happened on the same year. They hired DeMeco Ryans and drafted CJ Stroud. So the 5-year window opens in real time. But I went back to the early 90s. You go back 35 years. So I'm going to say the salary cap era of the NFL. Okay. The salary cap came into play in the mid-90s, right around free agency. Do you realize that since that began, and I have to give my credit to my buddy Rod Babers who pointed this stat out to me long ago, but I went back and redid all the numbers. There has not been a Super Bowl champion whose either head coach or quarterback or both were inside the 5-year window that won their first Super Bowl. Like Tom Brady went on to win multiple, but his first one was in the 5-year window. And Bill Belichick's.
Wow.
Andy Reid was in year 7 with Patrick Mahomes. That was his second year. Last year was Nick Sirianni's 4th and Jalen Hurts' 4th. Super Bowl champions, you don't win them. What it tells you is if the coach and the quarterback go more than 5 years together, they're probably not going to win a Super Bowl. They've been given the opportunity. So the coach installs his. I mean, that's really the way of the NFL. You open a window with a coach and a quarterback. And obviously you have to have a great architect like Howie Roseman as a general manager or Brett Veach in Kansas City to put the right pieces around those coaching quarterbacks. But the point is, if you get past 5 years and you haven't done it, well, you probably don't have a Super Bowl winning head coach. Cowboys found that out with Jason Garrett, right? At some point you have to move on. They waited too long, by the way, because the Cowboys with Jason Garrett had a young Dak Prescott, a young Zeke Elliott. Dak Prescott was Rookie of the Year. They had a chance to go take a window, but they were lackadaisical on the free agent market, and Jason Garrett was fired a couple years later, and Mike McCarthy was brought in. So again, those windows are real things. I mean, those things are real, like literally. If you have a Super Bowl winning coach and quarterback, you can win the Super Bowl, but they have to show it in the first 4 to 5 years. And you won't find one. You guys can dig on it, but I went through the research.
Wow, that's fascinating.
Isn't that fascinating?
Yeah.
Well, that means your Detroit Lions are
year 5.
entering the window.
Yeah.
And if they don't win it this year, maybe somebody, this is what sports are about, somebody does it, but it just hadn't been done.
Hasn't been done yet, yeah.
In the salary cap era, because you get expensive, you get heavy. This is San Francisco. Now they're investing in the Brock Purdy.
Right.
But typically you win the Super Bowl and that quarterback's early going. So here's CJ Stroud, year 3. DeMeco Ryans has this rock-solid, rock'em-sock'em defense. I think they've addressed the offensive line. I wanted to play this for you because I thought this was interesting. Because a national guy, Sports Illustrated's Albert Breer, actually picked Houston as to be a team that he thinks can be sneaky in the AFC this year that people shouldn't sleep on.
I'm going to give you the Houston Texans as a potential Super Bowl contender. And I see it this way for a couple of reasons. Number one, they've got a young rising defense. They've got multiple franchise players in that group, right? Like legit franchise players, like guys like Will Anderson and Derek Stingley. They've got like pieces around those guys like Jalen Petrie and obviously Danielle Hunter. They've got a defensive head coach. They've got, to me, a wealth of young talent, a wealth of rising young talent. They've got an identity, an attitude, and a culture on defense. And now they're undergoing a lot of change on offense because they're trying to match the culture that they have on defense on offense. And that's part of why they trade Laramie Tunsil. They're trying to change the culture in the offensive line room. And they've taken multiple shots at trying to replace Laramie Tunsil and bringing in Cam Robinson and Trent Brown and Aracey drafting him out of Minnesota. And you have Titus Howard back. So you have to get the tackle position right. You have to firm up the interior positions. But at the skill positions, you got CJ Stroud at quarterback. You got Nico Collins. You lose Stephon Diggs. You don't know when you're getting Tank Dell back, but you got Christian Kirk coming in, and you spent 2 high-end draft picks on Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel to be your young complementary pieces. You still have Joe Mixon. You still have Dalton Schultz. I think it's got a chance to be a really good team.
All right, so there's Albert Breer, and that's something we've said on the show, and that's why I think the 5-year window conversation is here. It's to me, it's this year or next year. I mean, it really is in the AFC, where the AFC seems to be a little bit more open than it's been because Kansas City looks vulnerable. They're trying to rebuild their O-line, and they're getting old and long in the tooth in some areas, especially at the tight end. And do they have a running back? And you heard Patrick Osborne on the Rashee Rice story. That thing, wide
receiver room still a question. Xavier Worthy comes in, but still.
Buffalo's the team that's favored in every
game.
When
do they do it? Right?
Yeah, and
same with Baltimore in the same category.
And by the way, Buffalo's outside that 5-year window I talk about.
Yeah. That was probably
with Sean McDermott and Sean Allen.
Year 5 last year?
Josh Allen, yeah. And, Baltimore's outside of it with John Harbaugh and Lamar Jackson now. They've passed the window. So this is, and again, those teams could go win the Super Bowl. I'm not saying they're not. I'm just saying it's never been done before. Once you pass the 5-year window, like John Harbaugh has won a Super Bowl, but he did it in his 4th year, and he did it when Joe Flacco was in his 4th year back in Baltimore. But he hasn't done it with Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
Sean McDermott hasn't done it with Buffalo. You kind of have to strike while it's there. And that's why San Francisco, you think Kyle Shanahan, Brock Purdy, they missed it, and now they're reloading. And Detroit is going to be in that conversation this year. So it is really, and again, there could be an outlier that emerges like a Buffalo because they're really good and they pull it off. It just hasn't been done. And so Houston is that team that feels to be like right in the middle of their window. And can they take advantage of it? Can they, because I agree with everything Albert Breer just said, they're really talented. Offensive line's the key. And I'll say this about Albert Breer. He's based out of New England, right? He covered the Belichick years for so long. That helped him rise at Sports Illustrated. And he's a real good writer and reporter. But he knows Nick Caley, the Texans' offensive coordinator, very well. So I think he's getting a lot in intel from Nick Caley, sounds like to me. And, Caley's the key. And to me, because DeMeco Ryans' defense is going to be good. They've got to improve the special teams a little bit. But they just got, if they get the offense at, top 10 in the AFC, top 10 in the NFL. They're going to be really good.
Their defense is already very solid.
So that's as we get to mini camps, I know everybody's optimistic. I want the Cowboys to look at Breece Hall. I just think that's interesting that those windows are, once they close, and you get expensive and old. You want to take advantage while you're somewhat affordable at quarterback and young.
Yeah, 100%.
And win Super Bowls.